Moving right along, joining me now on set, Taylor Riggs, co-host of The Big Money Show, right here on Fabulous Fox Business, and financial journalist and author of the Daily Business Digest, Mr. John Carney. Welcome to both of you. John Carney, what do you make of this story, okay? You saw the headlines, tariffs. You're seeing my questions about this whole headline story. What do you make of it?
So first of all, it's the fifth month in a row in which core inflation came in below expectations. The economists are blowing this because they think they think tariffs are going to push up inflation. It has not done that. When you look inside the report, as you were pointing out, some prices went up, some prices went down. This is what we've been saying all along. Even if tariffs pushed up, say, the price of furniture, we see prices elsewhere coming down to compensate it. They call it pass-through inflation. I call it pushback inflation because the consumers are pushing back on other prices. So you're not getting total inflation at all. You're actually getting a pretty even price stability, which is what the Fed is supposed to be aiming for.
So Taylor Riggs, the Dow Jones dropped, whatever it dropped, 350 points, less than 1%.
Nothing burger.
But it's a nothing burger. But it doesn't have NVIDIA and so forth. So in some sense, it may be a little disappointed in today's number. I don't know. I mean, again, stock prices go up and stock prices go down. So what's your reading of this story?
Yeah, look, the S&P 500 is still near a record high. Yes, buoyed by a lot of the chip makers, say NVIDIA and AMD, as Trump said that he's going to allow them to open up and sell their chips to China. So that certainly got a boost. But asset prices are high. I will say I love the pushback inflation story because one thing I kept reading today is about maybe a third of the index today you could attribute to tariffs. But a lot of the index is based on services, not so much goods. And a lot of the services that we are seeing are falling, and goods prices, as you mentioned, that are more subject and sensitive to tariffs.
Isn't that really
important? Some of those rose a little bit.
I mean, commodities and goods. I think that's the nub of it, really. And so far, it's gone nowhere.
And look at some of these services. Airfares are down. Rental car prices, vehicle prices up a little bit. But overall, it's some of those new vehicles that you mentioned. So airfares are down. Hotels are down. We could all travel again.
Let's see. Last 3 months, goods prices are up 0.7%. That is highly tariff-sensitive goods prices.
Yes.
Okay, so it's gone nowhere. So I just don't know what all this hullabaloo is about.
When you look at the numbers, you can see that like men's shoes went up, but kids' shoes went down. That's normal price activity. That's what happens in an economy. It's supply and demand. The reason why tariffs can't push up money is because we don't have the kind of Biden-inflation spending explosion that we had that caused the tariffs in the first place. It's not a tax on imports that causes inflation. It's the government overspending and accommodated by the Fed. That's not happening now. We're not seeing inflation at all. And I think what Taylor was saying is really important. This report is actually great for families. The price of milk is down. The price of eggs is down. The price of flying somewhere for vacation is down. And the price of hotels and motels down sharply.
Wow. I got to put all that in the riff. That's terrific. I'm going to supplement the riff with those. No, that's great. Family friendly. Okay. I have a sound about the new Fed chairman, the new Fed chairman, from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Let's roll some tape because the games are beginning.
There's a formal process that's already starting. It's President Trump's decision, and it will move at his speed. Traditionally, the Fed chair also steps down as a governor, and there's been a lot of talk of a shadow Fed chair causing confusion in advance of his or her nomination. And I can tell you, I think it'd be very confusing for the market for a former Fed chair to stay on also. As President Trump said, he's not looking to fire Chair Powell.
At least this moment. So Taylor Riggs.
You know what I love about him? He's so smart. He gets it.
Yes.
He comes from the market. And then I know the market is not the economy. And people at home aren't always interested in the day-to-day swings of the market. But that guy gets it. He knows what it would like to be confusing for the market. OK, he doesn't want that. He knows what it's like when bond yields get a little bit yippy. He doesn't like that. That guy, first of all, is too good to go to the Fed. You got to make sure he stays there at Treasury because he's too darn smart to leave.
I think so. He's like a master strategist.
Yes.
And he is a market man, and he does have the confidence of the market.
Yes.
And he knows everybody. So let him stay in the spot. That's what a Treasury Secretary should be. John Carney, who's in the running for this Fed chair? I am told the president has it down to just about 3 people, but what do you think?
So you're hearing a lot of, the Kevins. So you have Kevin Warsh and Kevin Hassett. But if you listen to Bassett in that interview you just played, he said him or her. He said, so he brought in the possibility that there's a woman in the running. This could be somebody who's on the Fed right now. Mickey Bauman is there. So I think that she is still in the running. I think no matter what Scott says, President Trump sees what a great economic leader he is. So he will be in the running no matter what. I think Powell is playing a really dangerous game, and he should snuff out immediately the idea that he would stay on after his chairmanship. That he has been very clear that he will not resign early, that he won't be forced out. But there's all this speculation that he will stay on board. That is unprecedented. He should just immediately say he plans on going on a long vacation and not being a public figure when it's chairmanship.
Go play golf at the Chevy Chase Club.
Go have fun,
he wants
Jay.
to in Washington, D.C.
Go to a dead show. That's what he likes.
Taylor.
He's a deadhead.
Taylor Riggs, the Taj Mahal problem. What you think about this?
We're going to get it solved.
Taj Mahal and the
Well,
Potomac.
I do like that the Fed is coming and getting some pushback, and they're saying it's not new marble. There's no rooftop terraces. There's no beehives. There's no fresh new elevator. So hopefully we have it scaled back. I want the Fed to be beautiful.
Nice looking.
Right? It's nice.
Looking.
It's a government building. It's an established
$700 million overrun.
Bingo. That's where I draw the line.
And
let's get it up to code, but we don't need to go overboard.
I read their fact sheet. I'll tell you, they didn't answer a lot of questions. I don't know if they're in conformity with this National Capital Commission or not, or what any of that stuff really means. But I think he's got a problem. At the very least, he's got an integrity problem for the institution. But we won't solve that today. No tariff inflation. That seems to be the consensus here on set, and the consensus on set is always right. John Carney, thank you very much. Taylor Riggs,